Welcome to Informe, a social media conversation for September 3rd, 2014. I'm Nate Manahan.
And I'm Dustin Hickle.
Today we're going to dive deep and we're going to try to figure out what in the world should we be looking at when it comes to metrics in social media.
Yeah, it's a really good conversation, really good answer to those questions. We're also going to talk about the Ice Bucket Challenge. Was it a one-hit wonder or is it the future of fundraising?
We're going to talk about Twitter analytics and hyperlapse. Another app on my phone? Come on, Facebook! All this and more right here on Informe, a social media conversation. Keep watching. Welcome to Informe, and it's a beautiful, sunny September 3rd.
Oh, yeah.
Labor Day is over. Is it fall? Do you call it fall even though it's not fall until September 21st?
It's felt like fall around here for a long time. I mean, what do we have, like 3 weeks of 90-degree weather?
Yeah, we normally do, and this year we had 3 days.
Yeah, it was horrible.
It's barely, it didn't get over 90 until like the last week.
Yeah.
And it just barely got over.
Yeah, all of August was like 75 degrees and beautiful.
Which is
and
great.
amazing.
I'm not complaining, but it's just been a weird summer.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that the predictions of snow in September. We don't want that in northern Indiana. So, but we're here to talk social media. We're here to talk about, bring the biggest news ideas and comments and just try to dig deep and say, hey, how can we use this stuff? So let's talk about first how small businesses, I like this article. And if you don't follow Marketing Profs, I encourage you to do it. I love it. It's a great blog. Lots of great information. A competitor of ours, there's things they do training and events that we do, and which is just fine. More the merrier.
Yep.
And but they mention, and I'll set us up, and then I'll see if you fall on a certain side. They say there's 2 groups of people when it comes to small media, social media metrics. The more the merrier, where it's all focused on the bigger the numbers, the bigger the groups, the bigger our reach. It's all about that. That's the only thing that matters on social media. And then there's they call them the social skeptics group, which doesn't say anything about the numbers, and it says, reach has no dollar value, shares have no dollar value, network size has no dollar value. It doesn't actually make us any money. The end goal is money, and social media really doesn't have any play. And so they said there's 2 lines there, and then they say most people are getting it all wrong. 1, do you agree with that there are kind of those 2 main streams of thinking when it comes to social media metrics?
Yeah, you know what, I do see that a lot. I don't know that I necessarily fall personally into one of those streams of metrics or those 2 sides about talking about the metrics, but you do see that. You see people talking all the time, we've got 100,000 Facebook likes or 35,000 followers on Twitter and all this stuff, and it's big and it's great and we're winning, and then you look back and you go, well, what are you winning? Like you see big numbers and even in some cases big engagement, but then what are you actually getting to? What's the win? That's something that you and I talk about a lot. For social media, you have to define the win. Yeah. And if the win is just getting lots and lots of likes and followers, you can do that.
Then go to Fiverr.com and just buy them.
Yeah, you're spending lots of time and energy and effort of very talented employees to not bring in any money.
Yeah.
So you got to be real careful with that. But then on the other side of the thing, the social skeptics who are all about it doesn't actually give us any dollars. It doesn't give us any, the Facebook like doesn't mean anything to us.
Right.
Yeah. Ultimately, that has to be, you have to get to the point where you're like, okay, what's my dollar value? I'm spending this much. How much am I making? But you can't go black and white. You just absolutely cannot go black and white with it.
Well, and I think what I love, their first step, or not the first, but their middle thing is they think bigger than social. But they say, moreover, let's go take a middle ground. Let's in between these. Let's find there's a middle ground in between these 2 extremes. And I think most small businesses, our first gut, I would guess, I don't know, this is a total gut feeling, is that we go to the more the merrier. When we jump into social media, we're finally convinced to use it, we think, I have to have 1,000 likes, I have to have 2,000 likes, I have to have 20,000 followers on Twitter. I'm not really, and one of the things is we get so to that extreme and so focused on just getting followers that we forget who we're targeting and what the end goal really is. Yep. And what happens is suddenly, and I've done this with people who say, okay, then, say you're giving away right now $20. How long will it take for somebody to respond to you? And it's crickets. And that's same true. We're recording this in Informe, and full honest, we don't know that people actually watch this. And it's kind of like self-productive because we believe this is good content, but not a lot of people know about it.
Sure.
And we have said we'll give away $10 gift certificates. You can go back and find our archives. They're all there on YouTube. And text us these words and tweet us these words, and no one does it. Yep. And that means no one's listening. And if no one's listening, you're not having value. Even though you could say, we can look at some of these views, and we have views of 100 views on some of these Informe.
Some of the videos,
but no one watched it deep enough to actually engage with it. For us, that's a metric that's really important.
Absolutely.
For a small business, we have to find that middle road. There are 3 things they talk about. Which ones resonates with you? Let the cream rise to the top, which is social data should earn a seat in a decision-making table. Allow the best numbers to gradually kind of percolate to the top is what they're saying. I'm trying to describe it. Think bigger than social, that it's important for us to not just think that social by itself. And then at point 3, they said, always catch and release. The most successful marketing analysts accept all data, use some, and reject most of it. Before ignoring data, however, consider the social metrics, tap information into the other marketing channels. So catch and release. Look, make sure you look at everything, but a lot of it means nothing.
Yeah, I think
which one? All of them, I think. Great points. I
Yep,
brought the article. Which one resonates most to you?
for me, it's think bigger than social media. Even being a social media expert or so-called guru or whatever, any other cool phrase that people can come up about people who study social media. I have a marketing degree. I studied marketing, and I use social media as a part of the marketing mix.
Right.
In no way should social media be cast out on its own and is expected to show hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever in return if you're putting it on an island. As a business owner, you wouldn't put your Yellow Pages, ad on an island that's separate from anything else. You wouldn't put a billboard out there that doesn't fit with anything else in your brand. Social media is a piece of all of that. So you have to make sure you're thinking bigger than social. You're thinking about what your customers want, why they want it, who wants it, where those people are, and actually go through the whole process of defining your marketing strategy and finding where social media plugs into that. Yeah. Because that's when you're going to find success. And like you said, don't go over the top and just try to get 100,000 likes on your Facebook page without being intentional about it. Those 100,000 people, they might like your page, but they might not ever step foot in your store if your store is in the middle of Indiana and you've got likes from California. That doesn't make any sense. It has to be really, really well thought out and very intricate and very detailed and intentional, because then you can build. I'd rather have 100 Facebook likes than when I put something out there, 80 people are like, yeah, sweet. Yeah. That's the next coolest thing. I'm going to go get it. There are a couple clients that we've done some work with in the past that they can't keep shirts in stock. They've got these really sweet design shirts. They put up a post online. They're like, hey, we've got a new batch of shirts and come buy them. 5 minutes later, the shirts are sold out. That's because they have worked so hard on their social media to actually target people who care and who want to purchase that shirt.
Yeah. Nurture the community that you want. I like the intentional. The word you use is intentional. Do it on purpose. Think through it. And realize it is part of a much bigger puzzle. And it will all be a lot more successful. So
absolutely.
Read this article, engage with it. It's really, I love it. It's a simple article. It's not, it's not giving a lot of do's and don'ts. But it is saying, look, I think a lot of us are misguided. And I think that still is. I think we struggle with, I only have 300 followers on Twitter. Why do you have 300 followers? Go engage with them.
Yeah.
And that's all right.
Go have conversations.
And that's, you don't always have to be selling, but you always have to be being you. And then you have to decide what the end of the game is. And if at the end, you can't judge it sometimes. Don't think of social media. The one they don't mention there is don't think of social media as a free avenue to...
Oh yeah, no.
Because it's not.
Not at all.
I use this example. I was having a conversation just today with someone, and they were talking about that they had... a product that cost them $500 to make, and they had sold $580, and they said, we've made our money back. And I said, but how many hours have we spent on that? And the hours were, literally hundreds of hours, and in that case, I said, look, you haven't made money. Yeah. You're losing money. You just don't, it doesn't feel like it. Right. And that happens, I think, a lot of times social media. So we think, I didn't pay anything. I spent all that. Well, it cost you your time, and time is money. And is it the best? And it may be. You just can't think of social media as a free pass. It doesn't. It costs money. There are real costs to it, just as I said. But as that comes, there are new ways to look at our analytics. Yep. And Twitter, finally, I have no idea why this took so long.
Well, they wanted more people to spend money on ads.
And so they were only opening their analytics to certain groups of people. And finally, we're using a UK article from the Telegraph.
Yeah, the Telegraph.
Yeah, basically everything that you were able to get before. Yeah. And I'm gonna.
Like you can get your people who've clicked through, right? How many clicks you got on different posts. Especially, it gets really awesome when you start doing Twitter cards. Yes. As I understand it, when you can do a Twitter card and you can put videos in front of people and links in front of people. In a way that stands out from the rest of the Twitter feed, then you can get the number of, I'm sure it gives you the number of the reach that you kind of get, the clicks that you get, the watches that you get on your videos. intense stuff, like almost what you would get on Facebook.
And I'm looking at my own. I don't have a lot of Twitter followers, but it tells you exactly how many impressions. So people who actually saw it.
That's something that we have been missing desperately on Twitter.
And so I can see that I tweeted 15 hours ago. I think there is a trend in here somewhere, and it was from a Flipboard article that I found. And I see that I had 36 impressions, 2 engagements. My engagement rate is 5.6%, which actually which is a pretty simple way to look at it, and a good engagement rate. That's it. But it tells me the last 30 days goes through each tweet. So you just simply go to analytics.twitter.com, and now this is available for all. So we look at it as our personal account. We look at, and this is something, especially this impression thing, because before on Facebook, they tell us exactly how many people actually saw it, how many actually saw it. We don't know that with Twitter. We know I know I have several, 500 followers, but only 36 people saw that tweet from 15 hours ago.
Well, what it's going to allow us to do as business owners and marketers is to start to really narrow down and nail down when we actually reach the most people on Twitter. Now, like we've had theories, and Twitter says, well, most people are online, like at this time, using their app at that certain, that time. But this is going to give us real-time data every single time we tweet, and we can say, man, 3 a.m., that didn't work. We only reached like 2 people. I mean, I can't imagine why. People are probably sleeping. But, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 10 o'clock at night, and we can actually really nail down exactly the best time for us to tweet. So, really awesome here. I'm actually excited about that. I'm planning on taking some serious time to check this out.
And not only that, you can now go to each tweet detail, and I'm going to one of mine that had 95 people had seen it. And you can expand it. It tells you how many people actually expanded it, actually clicked on it, expanded it, clicked on my profile and looked at it. 2 people looked at my profile because of it. If there were replies, retweets, and favorites, which is something we've already been able to track.
Right.
But in fact, I can actually look and see that somebody actually looked at my profile because of this tweet. And I think for brands, this is important, and it means we don't have to pay for it. Ads are still, what I love about this is it's going to show how much more impact an ad will make for it. And that's, I think, why they did it. They were like, hey, we're not going to show you, this is exactly what's happening without an ad. You put an ad out there, watch your numbers skyrocket.
Absolutely. And I mean, like you said, it's almost like a, what do we call that, a gateway drug, know? Like, man, I can see I'm doing this well, spend a little bit of money, $1 a day, $5 a day. Next thing you know, you're spending your normal ad budget right there on Twitter.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Really, really great stuff. I'm gonna transition on you.
All right.
Are you ready for me?
I'm ready. Let's go for it.
We're gonna talk about the Ice Bucket Challenge again. We talked about it a little bit last week. We talked about it was a little past its peak.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was kind of goofy. Was this a one-hit wonder, or is it the future of fundraising?
I think it's the future of fundraising, not Ice Bucket challenges, maybe not even social media challenges. And this is without just on my own anecdotal, like everything is. It's just out of my head. But I think people love being involved in something that's bigger than themselves. And they love doing it. It brought, like I think I said last week in the video, it leveled the playing field. That, Brad Pitt did it, but also I did it. And we have a lot in common, Brad and I.
Right.
But,
both very handsome.
Yes,
great hair.
Yeah, that's it. But it brought us all together and unified us around something. And I think what has to happen as fundraisers, as nonprofits who might be watching this show, as people that have causes they want to bring awareness to, is we have to bring common ground to it. And something like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge does that. What frustrates me about it, it's not a one-hit wonder. It's going to happen again. Someone else is going to come up with the idea. It's not something you can always fabricate, and you don't know for sure, and you have to be willing to settle for less. I just saw the numbers. They raised more in the last month than they raised all last calendar year, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And that is power of social media right there. If you want an ROI of social media, hashtag ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
Watch all the videos.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you need to do is figure that out. However, I don't know that we go out there and looking, and we've got to spend all of our time finding that one thing. You start a step back further and saying, no, I don't know whether it's viral, but what's good for my cause?
Yeah.
And when they started out the ALS, my understanding of the story is people were just saying, look, I want people to know about what it feels like to have ALS, and I want people to know more about it. And this was something that I helped them do that. Yeah. It caught on. It became viral. You don't know that it's going to become viral.
Right.
You can't plan virality unless you have a platform of billions of people that automatically, if you're Justin Bieber, you may be able to plan some virality.
Well, he got arrested again. weekend in Canada. Did you hear about that?
I missed that, and somehow my Bieber fans have not been staying in contact with me. How did I miss that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm telling you, it's virality. Like you said, if he's got that kind of following.
Yes,
he got arrested. That's viral.
And you know about it, and,
right?
You know, I have never caught you as a Bieber fan.
I'm not. It showed up on my Twitter feed somewhere. But yeah, I mean, like you're saying, you can't plan virality. I mean, I don't think you can go out here in the next couple months and dive into when it starts getting cold, dive into the lake and try to get this kind of reaction that they got for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. I think it was definitely, like you said last week, kind of a watershed moment. Just open the floodgates for what could come in social media.
And think creatively. There have been all kinds of campaigns. There have been cancer organizations mentioned in this article that we're highlighting here from Marketing Week, where they just sent no makeup selfies, and they did that, and they got suddenly 200,000 more likes on Facebook because of that. And they, there are times to go after money. ALS Ice Bucket Challenge has been a fundraising campaign.
Yes.
Sometimes awareness. I spent multiple years in cancer education and advocacy. And sometimes it's important to make sure that 10,000 women know the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer than versus getting that $10 donation. And how do I do that? And I was looking at one of our videos that we did in a former project of mine. It has 50,000 views. And I was like, that's not a very big number, but it is. If I really think about 50,000 people actually saw that, and it's about cervical cancer.
Yeah,
that is power.
People are equipped now.
And we have to think. Like we say, what is the win? But is the ALS? There's probably not going to be another one. Maybe there will be. Maybe next week somebody's got something brewing. This has been to the nth degree. Yeah. But two nonprofits and causes think creatively.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't. That's my end of the board.
Yeah,
that's all I have to say about that.
The one big thing that I think really stood out about what we talked about last week is it has to kind of be like a low barrier of entry that everyone can do. So if you're getting creative and you're like, hey, let's get a gallon of paint and dump it on our head, it's a terrible idea, but anybody could grab a gallon of paint and could dump it on their head, cheap $5 gallon of paint. Low barrier of entry. So keep that in mind if you're getting creative and starting to think through stuff like that. Tweet at us too. We might be able to help with some ideas. If you're like, man, I'm a nonprofit, or I want to do something to help fundraising like that on social media, shoot us a tweet at Salcha, NK Manahan, Dustin Hickle. We like to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, that's what we do.
That's what we do. We're doing right now.
Yeah. So, all that, and
before we go too far, I want to talk about this new Instagram app.
All right.
The new Instagram app, and I want to set you up for a home run here. Here comes the pitch. All right down the middle. It's a nice change up, okay? How do you feel about Instagram launching its own separate standalone app?
Okay, here's what, change it. Let me get on my soapbox. Okay. Facebook. You now have the Facebook app. You took Facebook Messenger out of the Facebook app, and you made its own separate app. So plus you have the Facebook Pages app. Then you now have Instagram, because you bought Instagram and kept it as its own app, but it plugs back in. And thankfully, you still let me tweet my pictures from Instagram, so I'm thankful for that. Yep. Thank you. And so you have the Instagram app. And then the company that you fully own, that you paid $1 billion for, says, you know what? We are creating videos from our app. We're creating photos from our app. We want to do time lapses, but we're not going to do it from our app. We're going to create a whole nother app called Hyperlapse. So now we have Facebook, Facebook Messenger, Facebook Pages, Instagram. I'm gonna have a whole new phone just to have my, come on.
I know.
Okay.
Here's the thing. We love apps, right? People love or loved apps. I'm even gonna say people used to love apps and having 100 apps and downloading the latest app. How many apps can we actually have on our phone, like realistically?
Eventually, there is if you're creating a new service and you want to put an app for it, or there are reasons to have apps, and I'm not going to say there. I couldn't figure out, and maybe there's a reason for this. There's a reason. The reason they did it's for ad share for them. For Facebook, they're going to sell more ads because they're going to sell ads on Facebook Messenger. They're going to sell ads in the Facebook ad. Their Facebook pages. Then they don't have to create, and they can have separate teams, and they don't have to interact. I think there's technology reasons to do all that. This one I haven't been able to make sense because the technology seems like you could just build it into because you're just taking video that they built image stabilization and they drop frames from. That's my understanding. That's my simpleton understanding of the technology to create a time lapse. Could that not just been bad in the backbone of the Instagram app?
I think it could have been. Obviously you and I are kind of thinking on the same wavelength here.
I don't know. Now it is a cool app.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a couple of them. I've seen a couple hyperlapse right now we've got the Instagram blog up, and it's got a 45-second video about hyperlapse. Go and check it out. Really, really cool. What does it take? Like, I forget how long it is, but you can just do a long video and it shrinks it down to 15 seconds, and it's like, whoosh, like super quick. It's incredible.
It's just a timeline. And just, you can sit there. If you have something that has a lot of action and interest, we do time-lapse videos like when we help our clients with events, and they do stage setup. And so we actually do full. We'll set up the big, Canon 5D, put a special thing on it, just takes a picture every few seconds, and, over 5 hours you see this stage appear from nothing. And you do this time-lapse, and then we put music behind it, and they're really cool effects. This is the same thing done over your phone. At this point, only iOS devices.
I'm on Android.
I'm an Android phone user. I do have an iPad mini, so I put it on my iPad mini and try it. I've done one. I didn't post it. I just made it, and maybe I'll post something eventually. I am an Instagram user. First, I love the idea, love the concept. I love the new creativity. I like the new feature. I don't understand the other app. It was something for me to vent about. It's not really that big of a deal. Other than my question is, eventually I forget about these things. I have so many apps on my phone, so many apps on my iPad, that I forget about certain ones. And there's certain functionality that apps or give you that maybe you couldn't have. I just don't understand, when you already have one app, what's the reason to not just combine some of that when they're doing the same type of things? Maybe they're going to allow us to post it to I don't know. I haven't figured that out. So we do have a question, but I love it. If you are some type of company, let's talk use case for hyperlapse.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're doing time lapse, maybe if you think of one, I'll use one that I'm thinking of. If you're a company that sets up, winters, each season you do a different display, and so maybe you do a time lapse as that set up. So you set up your iPhone and you get it propped, and maybe you spent the money and have a little stand or something, or you figure out some way to prop it up and make sure it's getting the right picture. And as you're setting everything up, then you hit stop, you print, and you say, hey, come see our new display. And there's all kinds of ways to creatively use that. I think if you are going, just personality-wise, you're going to your kids' events and you're showing the time lapse, or you're showing something that's happening in your office, and you had I saw VaynerMedia, shout out to Gary V, we love you, Gary V, but VaynerMedia I saw was doing some time lapses, and they had like a barbecue picnic day, and so people were going through like a buffet line, and they had created all these people like kind of just cycled through, and they had created a time lapse, a hyperlapse of it. Cool uses. Anything you can come up with, I'm throwing it on.
You're throwing at me at the last minute again. Well, I mean, you and I kind of probably had similar thoughts, but you with the setup display, but me kind of going more on the.
I'm waiting.
Are you waiting?
I have an idea.
You have another idea?
No, for you.
You have an idea for me?
I can't believe for a hyperlapse that you're not thinking of.
Tell me what the idea is. I'm not thinking of.
Something like golf.
Well, I don't.
But you could take a whole swing and then break it. I don't know.
You can break it down. I want slow-mo for my swing. I don't want hyperspeed for my swing.
Well, in hyperlapse, it's slowing it down because it's dropping frames and has it bounce through. I don't know. I just thought.
I want like 100 or 1,000 frames a second.
Yeah, well, it's not going to get you that much.
Super slow-mo stuff. Yes. That's what I'm thinking for a golf swing. So I didn't go to golf. I knew that first thing that came to my mind. I didn't go there. But yeah, just get creative. Like, I mean, even if you're gonna do like the ice bucket challenge again, I mean, for Pete's sake, do a hyperlapse of a car driving down the road.
And I've seen those. The
hyperlapse. And then someone gets out and then bucket. Like you could do some cool stuff like that. Just get creative with it and have fun, and let us know what you think of it. Again, this is another thing that I'm gonna play with. I have two things that I'm gonna be prepared with for next week. I'm gonna be a pro at Twitter, the Twitter statistics, and I'm gonna learn quite a bit about hyperlapse, and we can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, that's all. What we'd like to know, question of the week for you, is what's the best hyperlapse you've seen out on the internet? And tweet it at us. First person to tweet and say, hey, send us the link. I want link, and you need #Informe. All right? And you can tweet it. You
have to remember that part.
Remember that. And if you send us a link to what you think is the best hyperlapse you've seen out there, I'm going to send you a $10 Amazon gift card.
There you go. First one. And you tweet it at Salcha. Okay. At Salcha.
So sometimes we train that up today. It's got to be tweeted at Salcha. How did they get in contact with you, Dustin?
Yeah, get in contact with me on Twitter at Dustin Hickle. I'm really kind of turning into Nate on Twitter a little bit. It's becoming one of my favorite platforms. It's just so easy for conversations, easy to connect with people and build relationships there. Google Plus, Dustin Hickle, we can circle up there. And then if you want to tweet us at Paper Media too, that's where I work at. That's where we're actually recording out of the studio, Paper Media Studio today. So tweet at us there. I can help you out there too.
Yeah. You can always find me at NK Manahan. You can follow us at all the different platforms at Salcha. Salcha is the platform that brings you this great content.
Yeah.
And you can check it out, salcha.com. If you are interested in any of the things that are going on there, if you're interested, Salcha is actually a product of PayPro Tech, which is a company that does payment processing. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check that out. All this right here, and hopefully we'll see you next week. We'd love you to interact with us. Give us some questions, interact with us, do something. Thanks for watching.